Hi there, and welcome to The InEVitable. This is MotorTrend's podcast about the future of the car. We're talking about cars that are electric, cars that are going to drive themselves, and what they're going to look like when these changes happen. And I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Mr. Ed Lowe. Mr. MotorTrend runs everything. I'm Johnny Lieberman, and today, the reason I brought up what they look like is we have two kids. Actually, they're not kids. They're young adults.
They're kids.
They're kids. Well, I mean, I've been looking. You've been getting pretty gray there, so everyone's a kid to you. But they go to a place called Art Center, and it's a car design school. They go to the car design program, and they're going to be building the cars you're going to be driving one day. So I'm really, I've been looking forward to this for a while because, you know, they're thinking about the future. They're not thinking about. Right. We're thinking about 2 years from now. I'm assuming they're not,
right? Because
they will still be in school 2 years from now,
right?
So yeah, I think it's going to be a cool discussion.
I'm petrified. This is the least prepared I've ever been for guests because I normally go through and I write a whole bunch of things down, or I look them up, or I look at their past work.
No criminal record yet.
Nothing. I have nothing on these guys. I found an Instagram profile. I saw some LinkedIn stuff, but they are like I can't tell, second or third year at Art Center, College of Design's transportation program, which is literally the most prestigious, transportation design school, art school on the planet.
Is it? It's not just nation. I know it's nationally. We'll ask them.
This is American exceptionalism. If you're big in America, you're big in the world. Come on.
Fair enough. Yeah. Big in Japan. Big in Japan.
Right. So this is. I want to know where their head's at. I want to know what they're looking for. I want to know if we're stuck, what the skateboard platform and beyond will unlock, and how they're thinking about it.
And I'll admit we're taking a bit of a flyer, a bit of a chance and a risk on this one because I've never spoken to either of them. I don't know if they can talk. I assume they can talk. Maddie, I only know because we talk about car design on Instagram. Yep. She seems to have a good eye on Instagram. And then this other dude, Preston, she told me last night, like, hey, I'm going to bring my friend, which is a very Gen Z. What are they?
Sure.
Gen Z thing to do. Like, like via MotorTrend and Podcast One. Like, I'm just going to change who the guest is because I'm 20 years old or whatever. And
I'm here for it. We're here for it.
Yeah, but it could be great.
It should be great. Again, this is going to be fascinating. We can talk to
established designers, and we know what they're going to say.
Yes, we can. We've been able to do that. We have tremendous abilities to talk to the veterans in the industry, but talking to the folks that will be shaping vehicles long after we are retired.
Dead.
I would say retired. People living longer. This is
speak for yourself.
This is going to be fascinating. So, should we just welcome him?
Yeah, let's get him in here.
All right, let's get him in here. All right, so welcome Madison Walker and Preston Sanchez. These are two, the best and brightest. They're future of everything we do from a mobility standpoint, how we're going to go around. I'm so excited. This is the least amount of prep work I've been able to do because these are fresh, ingenue faces.
Good thing I'm here because
in the industry.
I need to interrupt you. So,
okay.
I have a present for Maddie.
Oh boy!
I promised this to you a long time ago.
Aww.
But
my gosh.
FJ40 Land Cruiser.
No, it's an 80 series. 80 series.
So I said FJ80.
Yeah. So I happened to buy several of those. I was so excited when I saw it. And I put one on Instagram, and you texted me like, oh, my God. I was like, you know what? I have an extra. I'll give it to you. And then whatever car show I was supposed to be at, I didn't show up to. So I've had that for like 6 months.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. It's been that long.
Yeah. But,
oh, my God.
Just to let you know who she is, I don't know anything about Preston here, but really likes Land Cruisers and stuff like that.
So I got a Land Cruiser.
And you own a Land Cruiser?
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
I know.
Fair.
Okay.
You're crazy if you don't.
So Maddie, is that
yes.
Maddie's okay? Okay. Mm-hmm. Maddie, you brought Preston.
I did.
As backup.
Oh yeah. Reinforcements.
Okay. And again, you guys are somewhere between your second and third year, perhaps, if we talk about it that way, 6th term or so at the Art Center College of Design. Both pursuing degrees in transportation design.
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
And that means you will design cars for a living is the goal.
Well, yes. Design transportation.
Probably going to be cars.
Are you guys both in
hopefully cars?
I was like, maybe she brought a guy who just wants to do buses or
train
or no
public transit
or like shoes.
Right. No. So you guys are both into cars. Car designers.
Cars.
We want to be car
sure.
designers.
Got it.
Thank God. This would have been really bad if it was the bus.
No, I would have been like.
I would have left.
No, it would have been awesome.
No,
all right.
No.
Well, again, I'm super excited. I wasn't joking. We are fascinated that you're here. We normally have on this show so far, I've talked to a lot of like industry veterans and people who've been around the business for a long time, folks that are either our age or older.
Well, we had like Derek Jenkins, who's VP of Design for Lucid, who was doing the Volkswagen bus concept in the 90s. That's how long it's been kicking around.
Before you guys were born.
Yeah.
Oh, we were around. I was around for a month in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
when were you? Wait. When were you born?
Still in the 90s,
December
good.
99.
December 99.
Man, that's how
I was
1 year out of college.
I was in New York.
Oh my gosh.
See, already I'm depressed.
Yeah. Wow. And how about you, Preston?
September of 99.
Okay.
A
So
little bit better.
still. Geez,
Yeah.
99.
Little longer.
90s. So
I was 24. Well,
I think our audience is closer to our age.
yeah, probably.
How old does that make you feel? Well, this is great. So I want to start from the top again because I don't have much information on you guys. I normally do like this deep dive stalking
Creepy.
dossier,
Yeah.
and I literally only had your Instagram accounts, which you gave me access like an hour ago, and whatever I could find on LinkedIn, and it's not much. But for those who aren't aware, Art Center is like the premier transportation design program in the world.
Would you say the world, or would you say for the U.S.?
For the U.S., but also for the world.
I would.
Yeah.
We would say the world.
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, I've made a joke here. Harvard is the art center of general education.
Oh.
It's
So
not that.
true.
It's not that Art Center is the Harvard of cars. It's the other way around.
Right.
And I mean this to be provocative because there are people in Detroit who might say differently. That's
Right.
CCS,
Mhm.
right? And then there's
Yep.
another one. Atlanta has one.
Yeah, there is another one.
I don't know what it's called.
Couldn't tell you the name of
Exactly.
it either.
That's how popular it is.
There's one in
Yeah.
Germany, and I think there's a
The Italians got
Japanese
one,
Oh, well, the
too.
Italians are pretty good.
Sure.
Of course, they get a
Yeah.
pass.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there's
yeah,
also
yeah.
the Royal College of Art in London.
Yes,
Yes.
that's the one. But there's one.
Yep.
Isn't there one in Japan? Or is that
Sure.
that Art Center?
There's probably we have classrooms in China,
Right.
but I don't know about Japan.
Okay, I could be totally wrong.
Premier place to go if you want to learn to design cars. So let's start there with your native interest in the subject. So, Maddie, do you like cars?
I am obsessed with cars.
Since when?
Probably since I was 8 or younger, maybe 6 or 7. My dad is a car nut, a car modifier, like
What kind of cars? Hot rods? Like
off-road
trucks?
cars, like
Nice.
trucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hence the Land Cruiser.
Land Cruiser?
Yeah, so like a couple months before I was born, my dad bought like a 1995 Range Rover Classic,
Okay.
and
Which wasn't classic at the time because you were born right around then. Sorry.
No, it's still
Right,
no,
right,
90s
right.
was still a classic because it was like a series
No,
one.
but
kind of throwback.
95, she was born in 99.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure.
Go ahead. Bad
Yes.
joke. Good joke. I didn't get it.
So I was like raised in the back seat of that car,
Okay.
and I worked on it a lot with my dad. And throughout my childhood, my adolescence, it was like a constant project because it's a Land Rover product.
Zing.
Yeah. So it was like constantly needing attention. And I don't know, my dad was, very knowledgeable in racing, and like he's a big F1 and NASCAR fan.
Okay.
So from a really young age, like I think the first video game I ever played was probably Sega Rally Revo. My dad bought it for me on like the PlayStation 1 or 2. And that was like my first video game.
Okay.
And then after that, it was like Pokemon, But yeah, I've always been interested in cars. It's been a massive part of my life.
And Preston, how about you?
Yeah. So I just loved cars since before I could remember, but mostly just like the arts and crafts side too is what kind of drew me to Art Center, or not arts and crafts, but design.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just was kind of like combining those two things of cars and this like love for creating and designing, and that's kind of how I got into Art Center and got into car design.
And arts and crafts is a good way to. It's not just pen and paper. There's a lot of like you
Oh
got
my
to
gosh.
model. You
Very
gotta,
hands-on.
You got to
Yeah,
build
super
stuff.
hands-on.
Right. Okay. But you're a local guy.
Yeah.
You were San Marino
San Marino.
High
Yep.
School.
High school. Yep.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Okay.
And
That's very
that's
local.
a suburb.
Yeah,
Again,
super
audience,
local.
It's a suburb,
Suburb of Pasadena.
Pasadena, suburb
Yeah.
of Los Angeles.
A suburb of Pasadena.
And I
right?
saw that you worked at one of my favorite botanical gardens in the world.
Oh,
Descanso Gardens.
That's my favorite botanical garden as well.
Oh, it's great.
I
love
gotta go with
Descanso.
the cactus at the Huntington, but Descanso's
Descanso's.
Oh, the Huntington is great too.
Huntington's
Yeah.
great.
It's
Descanso's
cactus.
smaller.
Yeah.
It's just nice. It's
Yeah.
a lovely place to go. If you're ever it's actually very close to
my house.
your house, but also Angeles Crest.
Very close.
So if
Yeah.
you're one of
Super
these,
close.
if you're one of these car nerds who's coming out to LA to go, I want to drive the historic Angeles Crest. Go grab a cup of coffee and wander around Descanso. to
Yeah,
catch your
or
breath.
in the winter, go there during their holiday celebration. It's magic.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
But the reason I wanted to have Maddie on the show initially is, I talked to a lot of people on Instagram, but you have a good eye for cars. I want to talk about how you developed that. And when I decided you should be a guest was when they released the pictures, speaking of Range Rover, of the new Range Rover.
Oh yeah.
And there was something about it because, it's an evolution of the last one. But there was just something I was like, I don't like something about it. I couldn't figure out what it was. And you sent me a picture of the back of it with just a little thing circled.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. I was like, oh, you're pretty good. All right. But anyways, so you grew up loving cars.
you grew up in Vermont.
No, I went to a college in Vermont for
Okay.
1 year, but born and raised in Pasadena.
Oh,
Oh, another local.
Yeah, very
cool.
local. But I did
what high school?
New Roads High School.
Okay.
It's like a liberal arts
Yeah.
high school in Santa Monica. So I grew up on like the west side, but I was born in Pasadena.
Wow. Okay.
But so how did you go from like, I like cars a lot to I think I can design them?
Yeah. Okay.
That's
so
what I'm curious about. Because
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I used to want to design cars, and I was terrible. And back then, if you were bad at something, your parents discouraged you from
Right.
pursuing it. So
yeah. So basically, I mean, in high school, I had no idea that there was a discipline for car design. It was just one of those jobs that was never presented to me. I didn't know that it existed. A lot of us feel that the same way about that. It's like, what? That's a job?
Right.
Like, that's amazing.
Right.
Yeah. So originally, I went to this college in Vermont and I studied architecture. And architecture is considered like the foundation of design.
Well, let's pause you right there, because if you got in to study architecture, that means you had a very strong visual arts
Yeah.
training. Even in high school, you were able to draw, visualize,
Yes.
do some math. Okay.
Not the math part.
But that would get you in both to an architecture school, but also into art center. So you love art too. So you had
Yes.
arts and crafts. You like drawing. You like
He's
sculpting.
hands-on, and I always had a paintbrush or a pen.
Got it.
I was doing like honors visual arts at my school
Okay.
in my freshman year, and I had to keep taking that class over and over again until I graduated.
Okay.
So visual arts was a huge part of my life. I was like, I guess I'm going to be an artist or something.
But how did you figure out like, hey, I could do architecture for cars?
Yeah. So it started when my architecture instructor, he was like, do a nomadic vehicle. And I was like, wait, so a car? Or like a nomadic building. And I was like, do you mean a car? Like, that's what a car is, a nomadic like building. And he was like, no.
Range Rover Series 1.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. I was like, oh, like the Series 2 Land Rover. I'm like, no way. No, but I was like, that's a car. And he was like, no, not a car, just a nomadic
right.
building. And then we got into this really long discussion about like why cars are the worst. They destroy city design and urban planning.
Sure.
They're the culprit of like, they're just the worst.
Right.
Architects' worst nightmare,
Right.
I guess. Urban planners' worst nightmare. And I was like, so offended. I was like, how dare you? First of all.
Awesome.
So at that point, I was like, I don't know if this is the right school for me and the right program for me.
I like it.
So I finished the class, and I'm really close with the instructor. Even though we got into this big argument about the car thing, I ended up making a project that like I loved and he loved, and it was great. But I dropped out, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And then my dad, he didn't get a degree. He never went to college. Pardon me. But he told me, he was like, when I wanted to go to school, I applied to this college called Art Center, and they're in Pasadena. And like, if you want to do a design school, why don't you go there? And I was like,
Wait,
wait.
hey, hang on. He told you this after you'd already applied and got into
Yeah,
architecture? Like,
yeah.
Good timing, Dad.
I know. Shout out Jason. Yeah, it was really strange. My dad may have just forgotten about it, and neither of my parents went to college, so they really had no good advice for me. So I was kind of winging it with my college counselor in high school.
Got it.
So
Also, you didn't know that you would go to school to learn how to design cars.
Nope, I
'Cause
thought
no
I
one
was just
told you.
exactly.
Yeah.
I thought I was just going to another like design school for something else, or But then I looked into it, and I was like, holy crap. They do car design. That is incredible. How come I've been sleeping on this my whole life? I was born in Pasadena.
Yes.
Right.
And I guess
At Huntington?
yeah.
That's where my son was born, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
Huntington
close to Art
Hospital.
Center.
It is.
Yeah,
It
really
is.
close.
Yeah.
So it was like crazy to me to like come full circle in that way. And
That's like 2 miles from Art Center. The
Yeah.
hospital, yeah.
so I did everything I could to get in at that point. And my dad was so happy because my dad is a car nerd as well. So it was like I can live vicariously through my daughter.
Oh, totally.
So, and he's still doing that today.
She can right every wrong. That's a different podcast.
Now, how about Preston?
yeah,
That
Preston.
Same
So-
question.
so
Like,
journey.
when were you like,
what was your journey?
hey, I could design a car? Because to me, that's, our CEO uses this terminology like, do we have the right to do X?
Your right to win.
The right to win. But also like, do we have the right, but like, again, from my perspective, like the idea to think like, I'm going to design a car.
Yeah.
Seems, maybe I put cars on too much of a pedestal, and there's a lot of horrible looking cars out there that a lot of thought didn't go into. But when did that strike you that like, I can do this?
Yeah, it was probably my senior year of high school when I was like, oh, wait, I can do that. Like, I can design a car. And so I ended up going to CSUN for a semester.
Okay.
And I built up my portfolio there.
Yeah.
And I worked like really hard because I wanted to get into Art Center.
CSUN, Cal State Northridge.
Yes.
My dad taught there.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Yeah, sorry. I'm amazed
no.
because like when I was a senior in high school, I was like, oh, I could make a bong out of this coffee
Yeah,
cup.
no.
That's pretty amazing. That,
Definitely same.
Yeah.
yeah, and so I built my portfolio. I applied, got in, and I was like just so happy. It was like my dream school that I wanted to go to.
But so in high school though, you knew you wanted to design cars
Yeah.
professionally. Wow, that's crazy.
It was a combination of drawing, sketching, being very like hands-on and crafty, and kind of just being in love with this three-dimensional vehicle, this shape.
Who were the question for both of you? Who were either the idol rock star car designer you most emulated or liked before you got into Art Center, or if you didn't have one, what car, what vehicle were you like, oh man, that thing is just amazing? Was the one?
Yeah, for me it was like all Ferraris. I was super into Aston Martins.
Well, yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like Ian Callum designed Astons or
Well,
earlier?
Astons go earlier.
I don't know, but earlier than that. I was like
Well,
modern.
that's fair. Which Astons? Great. Yeah.
I really like the DBSs, the Superleggera.
The what era?
That
The current
is
one?
recent. Yep.
Yeah.
That
Right?
is more recent.
Yeah.
But for him, he might have been in high school. 2
yeah, I
years
wasn't
ago.
That's what I'm
high-
saying. He was
yeah,
high school
yeah,
2 years ago.
I was
Right.
in high school, yeah.
Yep.
I went on the launch of that car.
This podcast's over.
I was
but what Ferrari?
So that's Merrick Reichman. That's
So-
Merrick
yes.
Reichman.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
what Ferrari?
The F40 for sure was like,
Okay. Alright.
I mean, you look at that and it's like, well, this thing is out of this world.
I think your favorite car is I think the car that did it for you is that BMW concept, the shark
The
nose.
BMW also.
That car.
Which one?
The Homage, the 3.0 CSL.
Yeah.
Was that the one with it had like the skin?
No.
It was like
No.
stretch fabric.
It debuted in like this kind of lime green.
Yeah.
What year approximately?
That must have been like a
Probably
while ago.
2014.
Yeah.
2014. So not that long ago.
For us.
Okay.
yeah.
So
Okay.
and for you,
Oh my gosh, this is kind of embarrassing. But the
It's a
two
safe
cars
space.
that really did it for me, when I was like a really little kid, had to be the Plymouth Superbird Dodge Daytona.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
that's-
car-
That's great.
Classics.
Really sold me. I was like,
Yeah.
that thing is incredible. Like,
Yes.
why does it look that way? And it's just amazing.
Yeah. And then no cars looked like that until the F40.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Yeah.
So that car just blew my mind as a kid growing up. And then later on, this one is really embarrassing, but the Pontiac Solstice.
No.
Whoa, gorgeous car. Gorgeous
I
car.
think that car looks great
It
too.
still looks great. Now, one of the
Yeah, it still
worst
looks great.
cars. I mean,
It's
that was,
really the quality control is lacking.
that was a car. I remember when that came out when I was working at Edmunds for that 4.5 day stretch. We had one doing a photo shoot with it, and you move it, and then they go turn it off, and I turned it off, and didn't turn off, and I took the key out, and the engine was still running.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, all right.
I think
Oh my gosh.
the window switch is like behind you. Or
Yeah,
the
yeah, but no,
door
but this
thing,
was
like-
we had to put it against a tree and stall it. That was our solution to get the
Oh
engine to turn off.
my
Yeah, it was
gosh.
insane. Yeah.
So
This is
fun
brand new.
fun fact
But
about
that's real quick. That's
gorgeous
that's
car.
France, right?
Yes, so I was going to say, fun fact about, as you know, the Pontiac Solstice, that vehicle is designed by Franz von Holzhausen when he was at General Motors. He eventually went on to Mazda,
Made smiley face cars.
made some smiley face cars.
Oh wow, I didn't know that actually.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
he did.
He was there for a little bit.
He was their head of design. He did that one, oh God, it's the one that burnt to the ground, that super awesome race car. It was built on a Courage
Yeah.
chassis.
With the super cool headlights.
Yeah. and
What was that called? Yeah, it had a great.
I went for
killer.
a ride in it
Yes.
when they were like
Yeah.
6 years old.
Embryos. Yeah,
and then he left and he went to this little small, nobody knew of EV company called Tesla.
right.
Did all those vehicles great. Funny thing is, the guy took his place at Mazda Design, Derek Jenkins,
Derek Jenkins,
who's now
Lucid,
Yeah.
is now Lucid. So what an intertwining web we're weaving.
But also,
here.
just to go back to Maddie for a second, what a good eye, because the Solstice is like
excellent
terrific
proportions.
car.
That car
Beautiful car.
had my heart as a kid.
And there was I remember there was a story written by somebody, but they showed all the other Solstice concepts, and none of them were nearly as good. And that was the one that Lutz saw it. And this was because the thing with the Solstice was it was parts bin. Almost every piece of that car, except for the body panels, were from
Right.
another car. So like the fog lights were like the backup lights from the Blazer, and
Right.
it was and that's how they were able to do it. But yeah, it was just that design was, and I remember, I don't know if you ever saw the concept of the Solstice before it was a roadster, when it was a coupe.
I don't know if I've seen that.
Look it up. It is 10 times better. It's
Oh, wow.
one of the most beautiful shapes. Yeah,
I
love
think
that
it's
car.
one of the few cars too. There's a couple out there that made it from like concept to production with like almost no changes. Like the FJ Cruiser. original
Yeah.
FJ
yeah.
Cruiser
was
is an
one of those.
iconic
the
example of
Bangle
that.
5 Series where the guy died, the designer had cancer, and they locked the design like to honor him. So,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So those
Very
are some cool. Those are some cool cars.
great cars.
You guys get in. You love it. Art Center is awesome. You're roughly 6, 7. What do you guys study? Like break it down. Like,
Okay,
what do you
so-
what do you do in the first?
What's a class?
What's freshman year for you like?
It's insane.
Extremely
it's
rigorous.
absolutely the most rigorous experience of both of our lives. We were actually talking about this last night because it's really intense. It's very, very rigorous.
Like, give us an example. What's rigorous about it?
So every single day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we have a 5-hour studio class. Whether that be, so a studio class is like you are working with your hands on something. So one class, we're building models. One class, we're sketching. One class, we're learning how to use a bandsaw, the table saw.
This sounds
All
like
the
heaven.
shop tools.
So many
it is
shop
heaven.
tools.
It's
Except
great.
for the 5 days a week. I mean,
no,
It's,
in
it's
college,
really intense.
Yeah.
'cause I was a hacky sack miner, so it was whatever I was doing. So yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's like all, and on top of all that, you have like 100 hours of homework due in all these classes.
Yeah. Like many pages of sketches.
And
65 pages of sketching.
And so give us like what's an example of like a homework assignment?
So like it would be like 30 pages of
Cubes.
sketching. Oh, of
Cubes.
cubes. In the early
Cubes.
physcom class, visual communications
And
classes.
is that to make you better at drawing cubes, or to like break you down so you just
break
yeah.
you down.
Break it down.
It's about, like, the first term is really about mileage, getting really good with sketching, and being able to kind of illustrate 3 dimensions in 2 dimensions.
Because I know a lot of car designers pretty well, and I noticed that they all have like, 1 or 2 things in common aside from wearing black, and that's
Always.
they can draw circles. They
Oh,
just
yeah.
draw
Oh,
the
yeah.
most
Like
perfect
the
circles
ballpark.
constantly.
Absolutely.
And that's where that comes from, is that they take a class on drawing circles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
VisCom 1 is a circle drawing class.
Right.
We're sketching all the primitive shapes. They have to be in the same perspective on the same plane.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's
Yeah.
all manual. So that
Right.
first term is really it's also really fun because
Super
it's all
fun.
manual. There's no Photoshop or alias at that point.
When does the computer stuff come in?
That stuff
That's
comes
like
in towards
second-
like second term. Yeah.
Do you guys read anything? Do any kind of math or
No.
No.
Nope.
I love
We
it.
do a little bit of reading here and there.
How much time do you spend? Because cards on the table. I have friends that teach on the other side of the design, the washing machine school, whatever it's called, the non-transportation design. I don't know if you know.
Product design?
Product.
Oh, yeah.
They make
Okay.
And so I've been to Art Center and I've judged like the model car competition there a few times. Probably judged you at some point. But like I've never been there and I've never seen like an actual like here's a car. It's always like little things like have they like said like here's a design an actual car?
Well, are
Yeah, I was getting a head shaking yes on the podcast.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, definitely. But are you thinking more of like a speed form kind of?
I don't know what I'm thinking of. It just seems to me like
Are you talking about
know,
scale?
Yeah, like I don't know, like because you have to. My assumption is like
When do you turn cubes and circles into
like
things, things we'd recognize
You
as
get
like,
this, you
Yeah.
get this degree, and then my notion is then like car company X would hire you, and they want you to show up able to like make a car,
Right.
you know.
Totally.
So,
Yeah, it's kind of complicated. I mean, sometimes, we get a lot of sponsored projects. So Lincoln, for instance, came in. They sponsored a class.
I heard about this one. Yep.
Yeah, it's really cool. If you were at the LA Auto Show, it was there. And
Celebrate their 100th anniversary. It invited you guys, and it was a cross-discipline, a cross-art center. It included
was.
the film department.
film,
and-
animation.
oh, that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. So it was like collaborative across many programs.
Were you on one of the teams?
I wasn't,
Okay.
but I was in control of like the booth,
Okay.
and like making sure people weren't trying to get into the model. They thought that it could, had an
yeah.
interior.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's just like the body.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's
Well,
an
that
incredible
people
project.
Will try.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, people were trying. I mean, people would, I would take my eyes off it for 2 seconds, and all of a sudden there's like a whole family
Yeah.
trying to figure out where
Oh,
the
yeah.
door handle is.
I've been on. I went. This is a side tangent, but I remember the Ford Focus back in like 2007. They were showing us the plant in Michigan that took us there, and they had a clay of the car, really nice clay, painted. And they're like, "Don't touch it because it's made of clay." So immediately, a journalist walks up, grabs the door handle,
no.
pulls it out of the clay.
Oh my gosh.
And then a Ford family member was like screaming about, "Why is our door handle coming?"
Oh
off?"
my
Because
gosh.
Didn't know what a clay. It was great.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. So, that's very cool.
So this is when do you start actually getting into like actual design, like theory, or hey, there's a
This is good looking. This is terrible.
oh no, more like here's a car we got to think about in the future. And this is actually one question I'm dying to know. When you guys are in school right now, what decade are you designing for? Are you guys thinking about 2035, 2040?
Yeah.
Beyond.
Really?
2040, 2030, 2040, sometimes even 2050.
Okay,
like,
so great.
Yeah.
cool.
Usually it's
Yeah.
like at least 10 years.
at
Which is-
least.
which is awesome because so
2032.
that assumes, right, there's all this happened. This is actually the reason for this podcast. This happened about 18 months ago. Like everybody and their mama in the car industry is like, hey, we're going to stop selling gasoline cars by 2030, by 2035. General Motors is like, we're all electric by 2035. We're carbon neutral by 2040.
Yep.
Right. So this is all, you're nodding your heads. This
But
is
also, cars are driving themselves by
exactly
2030.
exactly. So you're like you're looking at the stuff that's out right now. You're looking at the stuff that, even when you're looking at like at MotorTrend and like the cars that are coming in the next 3 years. You're like, that's cute, guys. But I'm like I'm 15 years. I'm 25 years ahead. Right? Okay.
Yep.
This is the good stuff then. What the hell are you guys designing? Like, what are you?
Oh my gosh.
What are you looking at? Like, obviously, powertrain is going to be batteries in the somewhere, not necessarily in the floor anymore. Could be structural, right? Could be part of the skin.
Well, usually still at the
we
bottom.
usually
that's the
stick
best
to
place put
skateboard
it.
platform.
Yeah.
okay.
Just because, I mean, Tesla just, they're allowing people to buy the patent technology now, right? So it's kind of like,
Open patent, right?
yeah. So anyone can use the skateboard platform that they do. So that's kind of like the standard for us.
Skateboard means like a skateboard, batteries are in the floor. Motors are typically very near. They're either very close to the actual where the wheel opening is, or they're in between if it's a 2-motor or a single motor, or Rivian's got a 4-motor. Okay, so okay, great. What else?
Well, that's a crazy question.
All right, let me direct it a little bit. So this is what I've been asking about since we started this podcast, but like, are you, I know you are, but I'll lead the question with, are you designing cars that don't have steering wheels? And if so, where do you put the people?
Okay, so it kind of depends. Like right now, you still kind of need them. Just it can't be fully autonomous yet. So if we're designing for like 2030s, it's going to still need a steering wheel. But kind of beyond, then you can kind of start thinking about taking it away, but you never really want someone to not have control of the vehicle. So you kind of have to keep it in mind.
But what about when we get to like, level 5 autonomy, where you
don't need it.
Never have a steering wheel?
Yeah.
Like have they given you a project like design a thing that drives around without a human?
Yeah. Then it turns into like more of living space. You need to consider like the buyer and what their experience in the vehicle is going to be. So either it's going to be maybe like a lounge or a
and why is it always a lounge? Why not like
It's not. Here.
Because I've seen a lot of lounges in my time.
Lounge is what we go for just because it's like, oh, what do? You sit around in a car.
Yeah.
But no, like I'm in a class right now where the prompt of the class is like a helping vehicle. So they can totally be autonomous, fully autonomous, but it could be an ambulance, like a mobile veterinary clinic, or like, kind of an animal control, like animal rescue vehicle. Like there's so many different things. It's not always a lounge.
Just the car shows, it's always a lounge.
I know.
It's because humans are lazy and maybe car
Well,
designers are too.
Because it looks luxurious.
Yeah,
and there's
it's
nothing
luxurious.
luxurious about making an autonomous ambulance,
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Unless it can run red lights. Really
But
fast.
it goes farther than just kind of like what's in the car. There's no steering wheel, and maybe the front seats can turn around, and and you can like talk to your passenger, right? The thing that I keep coming back to with autonomous vehicles is, if we play our cards right, and these cars are driving themselves, they're all talking to each other, or they're talking to infrastructure, they're talking to the stoplight, the building, whatever, somebody's mobile phone. Traffic accidents go to zero. Right, incidents of mortality and death approach zero. But let's say you could actually maybe theoretically start changing the laws, and you don't need to have giant crash beams in cars. You don't need super thick A-pillars.
Right.
You might not even need to have a structure. Maybe there's a force field you can put up in front of the car, right, or something. I don't know. Is this kind of stuff on your radar at all? You think about it, or is it depend too much on
it depends.
The real world and laws and stuff?
Yeah, like it's a little bit too hypothetical. Like we want our designs to be within reason, so that somebody who just walks onto campus and looks at your project, they can understand what they're looking at.
Right. No force field skateboards.
Yeah, if you want to see force fields and stuff like that, you could go down to the entertainment design.
Right.
Because they do all that really cool stuff. No, oh my gosh.
No, it's great stuff. It's great
Entertainment is so
You go see
cool.
those losers over there.
They're awesome. No, we love our friends over at Entertainment Design.
Okay.
But they're doing like video games and like force field and like Halo and like concepts that do not have to be logical.
Or built. Yeah.
Or built.
Yeah, they're just rendered.
Yeah. So we try to design within, the realms of like what we know and what we're familiar with. Even though it's all about pushing the boundary, we still want to stick to like reasonable familiarity in a sense. But yeah.
But what about like and I know designers always talk about like proportion. So when you're like, we don't really need a driver to be where a driver's been for 130 years. Like, what do they teach you, or how do you talk about the proportion of a vehicle?
Right, like you don't need a long hood anymore because you're not putting
no
a
engine.
V8 or a 16-cylinder or whatever.
Yeah.
But that has for the longest time meant either luxury or sportiness.
And that's why we never want to let go of that proportion.
Really?
Right.
Never.
Okay.
Because it's so beautiful.
It's
There's no
gorgeous.
denying the beauty in that proportion.
Whoa.
Honestly.
There's nothing new coming under the sun where it's like,
well,
oh,
of course, there's kind of endless experimentation with proportion, but when
Yes,
you
Jaguar E-Types are beautiful.
That's what I'm saying.
End of story. Yeah.
End of story. And if you want to make an electric, there's a lot of amazing electric like grand touring concepts and like hyper car, sports car projects where, I mean, it's not typical. There are so many nuanced, like, you know, that one Bugatti project that we were looking at the other day. It's a very conservative proportion, but the details of and like the nuance in the way that he thinks about the design are so it's an amazing project. I mean, we should probably show you.
Well, what is it? Can you it's a podcast, so can you describe it to us? What Bugatti?
It's a very luxurious Bugatti hypercar concept, fully electric.
And is it a 4-seater, 2-seater?
I think it's a 2x2.
Yeah.
So like probably like the Royale. So there was a car from the late 20s, the Bugatti Royale. I think it still might be the biggest car ever built, but it had a 12,
it's like 30 feet long, right?
Yeah, it had a 12.7 liter straight 8, and but anyway, so they've been trying Bugatti's twice now tried to relaunch a 4-seater since Volkswagen bought them, and they haven't been able to for various reasons. So this is just something you guys are working on.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Gamera, the
it's
Koenigsegg
gorgeous.
Gamera.
Yeah.
Very successful attempt at that 4-seater. I mean, extremely successful.
Yeah, and that's got a stubby little nose. It's not the classic long hood.
Right. That
short
car
deck.
has a very nuanced proportion for sure.
So explain that when you say nuanced proportion to non-designers and people that don't hang around designers.
Oh my gosh. Do you want to
Explain
try?
proportion and then explain nuanced proportion.
Here, you take that
Okay,
one.
all right.
By the way, all of your instructors are going to listen to this podcast, and they're just going to laugh,
I know they are.
laugh, or whatever.
No, they're going to say A+.
No pressure.
A+.
Fingers crossed.
That's right.
I think a nuanced proportion is a proportion that we are all familiar with, but it's like executed in a way that is so
New. It's fresh.
it's really fresh. Yeah, there's a fresh feeling to the proportion that would otherwise be boring.
Right. If you went this way a little more or this way a little bit more, you'd be like, you wouldn't even look
exactly.
at it.
The overhangs are different, or the A-pillar lands in the wrong place, and it's not at all interesting. It looks like a sedan, you know.
A+. That
Car gets an A+.
I used to be a high school teacher, so I'm just going to grade you.
You did.
I'll be honest. I'm a little disappointed to hear that we're just my future that you guys are going to design is just going to have a bunch of like long ass hoods.
Oh my
No,
god.
well, it's not.
I'm not.
Like, where's the I remember when I got into I'd driven in like the first gen NSX and then the first Audi R8, and because it's such a different, just overall shape, the engine's behind you, the hood is low and drops away, and you actually see the fenders more. It's almost like there's a little bit of concavity in there. Like EVs, batteries in the floor, motors are up by the wheels. Like you could just make a big old cutout in the front. It could look like something wild. Like where's the zazzle? Well, give me
There is a lot of zazzle happening at Art Center. We can guarantee the zazzle.
Good. Pro Zazzle.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean the thing that, you could make a big cutout in the front, but where are you going to put your bag? So that's the
right
thing.
there in the cutout.
Yeah, there's just a net hanging there.
In a force field. Come on.
Right, in the force field, of course.
Right. Ed doesn't really hang out with a lot of designers.
No. I do. I'm looking for some again. I just want to stress to the audience: these guys are our collective future is in their hands.
It is.
So where are we going?
No, I mean totally. It will be different, and with like the new technology, we get to like explore different proportions, and I think the vehicles are going to get a lot bigger. And then also with new technology, if a car is autonomous, you don't really need to worry about parking your car. You kind of just be like dropped off somewhere. Right. And then the car can go park itself.
Wait, why bigger? Why are they all getting bigger?
Bigger for more space. You're going to need less room for safety, kind of. Or not less room, but the technology will be better.
You won't need a foot-long crush can anymore.
Yeah.
You mean bigger inside, not necessarily bigger overall.
Both.
Oh.
Wow. And is that Is that part of just because things just always get bigger, or is this because they just more and more stuff is being packed into cars all the time? Like it's got to have this processing
Right, you
power,
replace-
this much speed.
A bit of both.
Yeah, it's like you're replacing all the safety, like structural stuff with like computers and stuff, you know, like hardware.
And that's also kind of what consumers want too, is more of a space. And if it is something that you're not just going to sit in and drive.
When you say bigger, like let's say, you know, like I don't know, a car has a 115-inch wheelbase. It's kind of a mid-sized car. How much bigger will EVs get in 2040? Or how much bigger will wheelbase grow?
Well, they could get wider, they could get longer. Kind of in all directions, they'll get bigger.
Well, like how much is it going to grow?
We
5
got,
inches? 10 inches?
we got Escalade ESVs and we got Hummer like EV pickup trucks. Like
Right.
we're getting bigger than that.
No.
I don't think much bigger than the Hummer EV might
That
be
thing's
the
huge.
staple of
Yeah, that thing's
large.
ginormous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I'm really-
Hysterically large.
Okay.
A TRX might be wider. I want to run that down.
These are all.
That's a good question.
These are all
86
edge.
inches
These are all
wide.
edge cases.
Yeah. No, it's interesting though that I mean, because look, that's a very American notion too, though, that like bigger equals better. Where like you know, in countries with much tinier roads, you know, like Italy, they think of like a Citroen C3 as a big car. We'd see it as like tiny,
Microscopic.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're like, oh, you know, I mean, I had a woman apologize to me. We got into her C3, and she goes, "I'm so sorry, I have such a big car, but I have 2 teenage boys, and they're really tall." And I'm
Wow.
like, "You think this is a
First
big
of all, why are you
car?"
apologizing? Like,
I think she would have thought she was thinking that I would think she was wasteful for having. She could have had a
Right.
C2 or
She's like,
C1.
I'm from America. It's
Right, I know
waste-
exactly.
Wasteful
I'm like,
doesn't even
I'm like,
register.
where's the cheeseburger?
We
Right.
never even say the word wasteful.
Right.
So let me pause you guys here for a second because this is fascinating. I want to keep going in all your studying and where we're going. But personally, because of your background in particular, you grew up with a dad.
He's
who
pointing at
loved-
Maddie.
Maddie. You grew up with a father who loved racing and F1 and NASCAR and off-road racing. Like, are you on board with this electrified future? Are you like happy that sound of a car is gonna go away? Are you super stoked that you're going to be designing cars that may have a fold-up steering wheel or no steering wheel at all, and that they're just pods we go around in, or is part of this like crushing your soul?
Absolutely. There's a lot of people who would feel that, you know, the idea of vehicles becoming appliances is soul crushing. But that's not to say that there won't be room in the market in the future for enthusiast vehicles. Enthusiasm is still a part of the market.
I don't
Even
think
though
so. I disagree, but keep going.
I think
I
that
disagree too.
Don't let him bully you.
I don't know. Generally, yes, cars are becoming appliances.
Except, hang on, I'm gonna back up what you were saying, Maddie. Like, except, like again, we talked about this on an earlier episode, but like, you know, Rivian, Lucid, like these have levels of power. The Rivian pickup trucks, 835 horsepower, the most powerful Lamborghini ever built up until now is less than 800 horsepower.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of room for enthusiasm.
Yeah, but does it?
It-
Well, hang
yeah.
on.
Well,
but-
it's like weight too.
right, and you don't need that. You don't need all that power. Number one.
Speak for yourself.
Well, number
I
two.
need it.
Dude, yeah.
I need it.
When your truck is that heavy, you
I
kind of need
Yeah,
it.
I need it.
Well, let me come out because I think we're talking about different things here. Because I chatted with I showed this to you. This guy Sebastian Thrun. He was the founder of the Google X Labs. He helped develop Google Glass,
Yeah,
Google
Google
Street
glasses. The guy's you know,
View, Google
come on.
Glass, Google Street
product
View.
designer?
Also,
Yeah, biggest
no,
miss
like
in
just
history.
super computer
Smart
science
guy,
nerd,
smart guy.
robotics
Google
nerd.
Glass. I mean, come on, Ed.
Helped design Google self-driving car, and he's basically considered the pioneer of autonomous driving. And he's just like, it's not. I'm just totally paraphrasing. It's not here fast enough. We're still losing 1 million people a year in car accidents. And I asked him, like, do you think people are gonna look back at this age of when we're close to the technology? They can't believe they let people drive, 4,000-pound vehicles that were capable of killing everybody when there was a technology available that these things could drive themselves. Like the day, I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but the day is probably coming where they're just going to take this thing away from us and it's never coming back
Never gonna happen.
because it's ridiculous how dangerous driving actually is. And
No.
it's
I'm gonna side with Johnny.
Yeah, thank you. Smart.
all right.
Yeah, no. And look, this guy. Look, I mean, if you invent Google Glass, you don't really have a leg to stand on. Like
You're fixating on the wrong thing. As you
No, biggest miss in like history, right? Google
my
only
God.
misstep Google's ever made.
Still under development.
Horrible.
So let's go to you, Preston. Where do you stand on EVs? Are you excited about it? Or are you like, no, man, I'm a manual transmission and V8 till I die?
No, definitely not. I'm on the other side. I think it's like pushing boundaries. I think it's better for the environment. I think it's just all around better. I mean, the noise thing is one thing, but I mean, you can have artificial noise, so it's no big deal on that.
Why would you make artificial noise?
Because you like it. For the purist.
I mean, look, I'll say this. I'll say something. I've been driving a lot of Lamborghinis lately, and I drove a Diablo SV. Wonderful, lovely car. Not loud at all. It's got a big V12. Doesn't make any noise at all. They ran out of things to work on, so they started making cars insanely loud. It was something they never considered. They never had a sound department.
Right.
Maybe Ferrari would tune an exhaust. It just became a thing recently. Like, yeah, muscle cars with big V8s sounded loud because the engines were just wasteful and loud. But this whole like new fetish on sound, it didn't really exist the way it does, because everyone's looking for like, I need to grab onto something because like it hurts me that like I've been tuning cars my whole life and I made my 500 horsepower car make 600. Lucid came out with an 1100 horsepower car out of the gate. By the way, that's with 2 motors. Wait till you see their 3-motor car that's coming, you know?
Yeah.
And so people just, they don't want, they're scared. And the whole like notion they're going to take your car's head, like, you know, again, not to doom and gloom, but after Sandy Hook, no one took nothing. They're not.
There's no constitutional. There's no.
It's an amendment.
There's no right to.
Right to bear vehicles.
Right.
Yeah. No one's. My friend Daly drives a Model T. You know, ACP. You know, it's like no one's taking anything, and that's why the whole idea of like all cars are going to save themselves and they can get safer and less.
You know who said that? The guys riding horses.
What do you mean?
Oh, these mechanical horses are never going to replace us. We're going to be riding horses forever.
I mean, the boomer mentality assumption.
Oh yeah, talk about the boomer mentality.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that could kind of be applied. I mean, I suffer from the boomer mentality even because I'm on Johnny's side about like they will not take our cars away. I don't think.
Who's gonna take them?
I know that's the thing is
they won't go away.
who would want to?
Yeah. How would they?
How would they?
Just make a law. There are no human drivers.
I can't imagine.
We got to get Alex Ryan here. To talk about
we
it.
should.
We should.
It's a very insane debate, and it's a crazy future to even consider because at the end of the day,
it's math.
Cars are things that we own, and we like owning them.
You guys are studying the whole thing about how cars will go to a shared model. And
well, absolutely.
Car ownership
especially
goes
with
away.
the pandemic and everything. Yeah. I don't think the shared is so much in the future.
Yeah, and
I mean, it could be. It will be part of some kind of niche.
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
There'll
be a market for it.
Yeah, there will be a market like hotels or like in Vegas or something.
The minute we go from ADAS to full autonomy, and again, traffic accidents go to 0 when you're in a car that drives themselves. Humans go out of the car.
I mean,
it's just math. Like no insurance policy is going to.
Haggerty will figure it out. There'll be a way.
It's going to cover you.
Haggerty will figure it out.
If you are.
The other thing is, look, that we're talking about this off the air, but there's bad data. Like 92% of traffic deaths are from unbelted drivers today. We can't even get so.
But it doesn't matter if the cars don't hit anything. You could be wearing.
But you're also assuming they're not going to hit anything. That's a big assumption. Or nothing's going to hit them, or nothing's going to go wrong, or the software won't glitch. Yeah. There's a lot of assumptions. So, sure, in theory. And again, you're also assuming we have a political process which isn't completely frozen in quicksand, where everything's impossible to do.
It's really hard to get things done.
All the vehicles will share the road too. Like there will always be the people driving the car, and then the more autonomous.
And that's what's kind of insane to think about, is that they're all on the same road, and they have some cars are communicating with each other, and some are being piloted by people who are not in the loop.
Who are on a lot of meds.
Yeah, it's kind of a complicated thing to think about. Right. And sometimes I think if that was really going to happen, road systems would have to change, and it's just a lot of infrastructure changes that I can't imagine getting done because we have the quicksand issue.
Probably not within our lifetime, for sure.
Well, maybe at the end of our
we're done.
life.
Yeah.
Probably not ours.
Ed and I are done. Yeah, we're basically, this is the golden years. No, but I still think it's crazy that semi-trucks are on the freeway. Like, semi-trucks have their own dedicated lanes.
I think about that, too, all the time.
Right?
Yeah. But to circle back really quickly on, the EV future, It's a quite interesting debate because there's so much more research to be done. Because we're really swapping oil mining to lithium mining. And is that really the compromise that we want?
Well, you're not burning lithium. That's the difference.
That's true.
Yeah.
For emissions reasons, yes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to vehicles,
Right.
the emissions that come out of the exhaust are not the biggest concern. It's the emissions released from the factories they're made in.
Well, it's the coal burnt in China to create lithium batteries. That's a real issue.
Right. It's a real issue.
Yeah,
and
that's a real
manufacturing
issue,
is really where the problem is when it comes to cars.
And people focus on batteries, but there's where you're getting the steel from. How's that
you really,
created, where you're
that's
getting
the
rubber,
field that needs
everything.
the most innovation.
I get into that fight a lot. People are like, lithium mining. I'm like, how is it dirtier than steel mining? Please explain to me. And they're like, I've never thought about that. It's like it's just pulling metal out of the ground.
Yeah.
But it's the burning of oil that releases hydrocarbons, which warm the planet. Now, burning coal to make lithium batteries is insane, and we got to get off that model, I think.
Sure.
But
There's
there are clean ways to make EVs. There's no clean way to burn oil. I think it's the difference.
And that's where I think that's just where the innovation is needed so
totally.
desperately.
Right.
Because there's a lot of problems to be solved over there, and
Well, this is great because I had a question on sustainability. This is obviously a topic you guys cover in your classwork, but from a design standpoint, right? Like I feel like you must be, because I see these projects come out of Art Center or as concept cars from the major manufacturers by very talented former Art Center students, where everything's sustainable. You guys are using this is a vegan interior. This thing uses bamboo, and this is
recycled seats and stuff.
Yes. So
how do you get and this is kind of getting back into your education, because again, you guys are like in sort of the middle. You've gone through the basics. You're now starting to get into some of the cool projects and doing I think getting into more of like what is a car actually designing, like what it could look like. And then my understanding is by your final year, it's all like super badass like projects. Right, like you get to
do a thesis.
You do a thesis. You're working with an
nice.
OEM. You're maybe working with a designer, one of the heads of design from a car company, and you're just sort of helping them figure out what's coming in 20, 25 years. So it's nodding heads. That seems to be accurate. Are you picking up? Do you get an education of any kind of depth on sustainability? On like, are you thinking about where the materials are sourced, or is it like I just need a covering for this door card that doesn't kill Mother Earth or something? Like what is it? How does that work?
I'm gonna let you do this because
a bit
this
of
is your
both.
specialty.
A bit of both. We always try and like to keep that in mind of like, what is this product made out of? What is the manufacturing process? Things like that. And so for interiors, it's like using recycled materials. How can we use stuff that's already here and not have to like create more of it? And so that's kind of always like in the back of our minds while we're designing, but it's also, so much about the user and the brand identity.
Right. You wouldn't want a vegan Bentley.
That's a big
Whoa.
emphasis.
It depends on the material.
There are certainly
You can-
celebrities who would love and could pay for.
As a future Bentley owner, let me just speak for all Bentley owners.
Oh my gosh, as a
you do
future
not want
Bentley
a
owner.
vegan
But
Bentley.
Bentley doesn't have any customer that has requested a non-leather interior. I find that.
I mean, do you know Bentley owners? Because I do. And let me tell you what they're not thinking about. Now Tesla, I have a lot of friends.
I find that astonishing.
They're
They're not Bentley owners because they couldn't get a vegan interior.
they can get whatever they want if you can afford a Bentley. But
They go to Mulliner. Give me a non-vegan.
I'm sure they could do it. I just don't think anyone's asking for that. Wrong brand. That's what Preston just said. It's very brand dependent. You don't want. And again, if you go to Crew or you go to Goodwood where they build Rolls Royce, Bentley's Crew, man, do they talk about their cows and the cow skin?
That
and
seems
the
like
differences.
that seems
The
very
Bavarian bulls.
Or
Seems
the Scottish bulls for Bentley.
seems
yeah.
very short-sighted. The way the world is going.
I agree. Yeah.
It is
Well,
absolutely.
Because
You know
it could
the
totally go
1%?
that way.
What's the definition of being rich, right? It's you use more resources than other people. That's the actual definition.
Yeah.
So
Again, it's not something you're going to want to be talking about in public very often. So.
no, they don't. But it goes back to like the theory of the leisure class, right?
Right.
When electric lights were brand new, it was very romantic to have an electric light dinner. Once poor people could afford electric lights, the rich had
back to
candlelight
candle.
dinners. Because,
Yeah,
So
right.
once everyone's going vegan, the rich are going to be, can I get whale skin? Is that
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that just, I mean, Jack,
It's also like us. Like, we're going to be growing up and being the new Bentley owners.
Sure.
And so we are always thinking about sustainability. And even like in my day-to-day life, like if there's a company that's doing something more sustainable, I will favor towards that company.
And as
Sure.
people in our generation, I mean, it is on our minds always. Everyone in our generation, I want to say,
Yeah.
we're conscious of it to a certain degree, and it plays a massive role because you and I are becoming designers in one of the most transformative times in automotive history.
Oh yeah, what an opportunity!
It's a
Yeah.
major, it's crazy to think about because there has not been any innovation in like 125 years. And now all of a sudden, we're circling back to the first car ever, which was electric, and figuring out ways to like,
Mercedes disputes that, by the way. But yes, I know what you're
oh
saying.
my gosh, they're crazy. But it's really interesting and it's super transformative to like, I don't know, there's a lot of, I mean, it's a discussion at Art Center that is never ignored. Every single project we acknowledge to some degree. And our prompts are not, it's very rare that we get to design sports cars.
Sure.
A lot of our projects are sometimes
yeah,
in the
there's a lot
lower
of sports
terms,
car.
you kind of get to do whatever you want.
But if you work for an OEM, it's a sports car comes around once a career.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So there's
Unless you're Merrick Reichman. So.
Oh, true. But there's a lot of emphasis on on user.
Right.
So as automotive designers, our designs aren't really they won't really move anybody if your story isn't incredible. So you have to be creative in a way that's not just your how your surfaces look and your wheel design and whatever, and your package layout. Package is a word we should.
The
It's
layout of the seats, the
yeah,
cargo
like the
content,
architecture.
Right. So like the architecture and stuff like that. But when it comes to your story, like you have a compelling story and you have a compelling design.
That's I'd love to pause on that for a second because I think that is the most interesting part of design, as I understand it. The guys who end up leading, guys and women, the guys and gals who end up leading automotive design at big car companies, they're often not like technically the best artist or the guy or woman who sketches the best or has the best clays.
We should get to that too. They're generally not women either. We should
They're
Right.
generally
talk about
not
this.
women.
Yeah.
Right. But they are the ones who can tell the story, who can sell it the best, which I think is maybe something they're trying to teach or it's hard to teach.
It
at
is
school.
instilled in our minds in our first term.
Yeah.
One of our first ever projects is in VisCom 1, Visual Communications 1. And your instructor will ask you to sketch a glass.
My gosh, I know where this is going.
Yeah. And so everyone just opens up their giant newsprint pad and they're just going crazy, doing ideations on different glasses. There's no inspiration. There's no root. It's just come up with a glass.
Just like shapes.
Just go crazy and make it look like a glass.
Like a wine glass.
A wine glass. And you put it up on the wall, and then everyone's like lined up on the wall, standing in front of their work. And your instructor will say, you have 30 seconds to sell me your glass design.
Yeah.
So selling and having charisma and talking skills is super important.
So that is taught because I can't tell you how many designers are like, where do you get this BS
Oh
from?
yeah, oh yeah. It's
They get it from Art
instilled.
Center. I got
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. So then that leads me to this question I'm dying to understand because is it fair to say that in your class, and how many kids in your class? Let's say, whatever you however
Young
you define a
adults, Ed.
class.
Young adults.
How many?
Oh,
how many
the
college-
age demographic?
No, just
Oh.
in your if you guys were to graduate tomorrow, how many people are in that class?
Oh,
Roughly.
Like 35, 40.
Oh wow.
say
So
less. Like,
tiny.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes it's like 12.
Yeah.
Okay. And all of these folks, generally speaking, they came into Art Center and maybe halfway through or by the end, they want to be a car designer, head of car design, but the exterior, like the whole thing, right? Or do people, or at what point do people go like, you know what? I'm really into interiors. I want to be the interior designer.
There's different tracks. So it's like exterior, interior, and like 3D. And so kind of about halfway through, you kind of know what you want to do, whether that be like 3D modeling or clay modeling, or being more on the exterior side or interior side. And so around like 5th term is when you kind of declare like what you want to do.
And
What
what
track?
are you two?
I'm exterior, but I really like the modeling side.
Okay.
Exterior, all the way.
Yeah.
And
okay,
what-
I knew that. Yeah,
What which path gets you to Merrick Reichman or Ralph Gio?
I got his.
All of the above.
I got both their phone numbers. I'll text them.
No, but so you can
That'd
go.
be
You
awesome.
can somebody who wants to do interiors can end up being the head of design at a major car company, or is it always like, like they say, like if you're going to be a sports broadcaster, you got to be a quarterback, right? Or you got to be like
Helps. Yeah.
yeah. Like what's the is it exterior design?
What's the move?
It's all.
Yeah.
If you can master interior, exterior, and 3D,
Okay.
if you can
Yeah.
become jack of all trades, that's what will land you.
All right. Well, let's ask this because we're starting to wrap up. There's actually a zillion things I want to ask. 'Cause I'd love to talk about how there probably weren't any female designers you knew about when you decided to go. But we'll maybe table that for next episode. But okay, it's 2022. Where are you guys, both of you, in 2032?
Oh my gosh.
And then
That's
do
only 10
42.
years.
Yeah, 10 years goes by.
I know.
I've known you for like way too long. Way too long. So you know what I mean? So let's do 10 years and then 20 years.
10 years, 20 years. Yeah, definitely graduated art center.
Yeah, oh my God. Pray to God that we
Well,
Not
that's
for
graduate.
too long.
Let's say that's in 2 more years. Okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Yeah.
almost debt free from art center.
Yeah, well, that'll never happen. So yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm passing that on to my children. And
Right,
Yeah.
right. Debtors prison. Go ahead.
Yeah, and working for a car company. I want to be in California. I think this is where it's
Okay.
happening.
Okay.
And this is where I want to be and stay. So definitely working for a car company, doing design for a car company here.
Call them out. Which car company?
Yeah.
Who's killing it?
Rivian.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to work for Rivian.
Okay.
Wow. All right.
Maddie?
I would also like to be in California, but I'm very open to working in Europe.
Sure.
I've never
Yeah.
been.
What?
So
You've
it's
never
like,
been?
never been. It's messed up.
Yeah.
And one of my kind of mentors worked at BMW for 25 years.
Who's this?
Mark Clark.
Mark Clark.
He's an instructor at Art Center.
Okay.
He worked at Porsche for some years. He did the wheels on the CGT, by the way.
Oh, yes. The pink and the blue.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a Carrera GT.
Carrera GT.
I would say this. I would say get to Europe as soon as you can, and and other countries. Because I always come back to things like this. But if you see it popped in my head, but like a Jaguar XJ here, you're like, it's a big car, but it's not big compared to this truck. And then you go to London, you see a Jag XJ, and you've never seen a bigger vehicle. It takes up like half the street.
Yeah.
You need to see a Fiat Panda in the wild.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah.
saying.
I
Exactly
really
right.
do.
Yeah, and then just go to Italy and drink espresso and look at cars. 'Cause
And that's my dream, honestly. But it's always really funny.
Stellantis.
Well,
Yeah.
so we're going to say, call the brand.
I
Shoot your
don't-
shot. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, they listen.
Honestly, and I say this, usually this is my answer because it is, but it would be Volkswagen.
Volkswagen Group or
Volkswagen Group.
Okay,
Because
you have a GTI.
I do have a GTI,
Yeah.
but it's not just because I'm biased. I swear to God. They own so many different manufacturers, and
Yes,
there's
and
so many
Oh, right.
opportunities.
And
There's
I
a lot
know
of
of
lateral,
I know of one with a beautiful design center here in Los Angeles.
Right.
Yes.
4 rings. Yeah.
So,
I know the guy that runs it.
Maddie's making a great point. If you go to VW is the largest car company in the world alongside Toyota, right? When you join VW,
you can
AG,
go anywhere.
you bounce laterally.
Uh-huh.
You could
Yeah,
work on
you go.
Skoda. You could be a VW. You go work at Bentley or Porsche.
So like one of our favorite designers, he's an alumni, Sasha.
Oh,
Sasha Selepanov.
Yep.
Yes.
Ah.
So pause here. Sasha Selepanov, formerly he did Bugatti
Chiron.
Chiron.
Yeah.
He went
Her,
to he did
Oh, he did Oricon.
I don't think.
No.
I don't know.
No, he didn't.
But he's
work
at
on
Koenigsegg now.
Yeah.
Or he just left. I can't remember.
I think he just left Koenigsegg.
it. Yeah, he did.
Koenigsegg pretty good design.
And he was at Genesis for a
He
hot
was at-
second.
yeah.
That's where he
Genesis.
was.
He did the Essentia concept.
So good.
One of
yeah,
our
yeah,
favorite
yeah,
concept
yeah.
cars of all
Like a
time.
huge. He's a huge beard.
Huge beard,
yeah,
big
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Wears
I-
black
I-
heavy metal T-shirts.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I know him. I know him.
So he's a rock star to you guys.
He is a
Yeah.
rock star. He's
the
so
best.
insanely talented.
Okay.
Everywhere he goes, he makes miracles happen. I don't know what it is. He's just got
he's
it.
inspiring for
So
sure.
we got the high sign. We got to wrap this up. But that
Okay.
was a 10-year plan. It was Volkswagen and Rivian.
But
20-year plan though. Now
20
you're running a department. You don't
Uh-huh.
you don't work for anybody. Where are you? What are you doing?
Well, going back to the 10-year.
Yeah.
It'd be any car coming like BMW, Rivian.
No, this
Tesla.
isn't a test. Just tell us
okay,
your
okay.
dream. Tell us your dream. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
so-
You'll design buses
yeah,
for.
yeah.
Oh yeah, for the
sure.
public transit in
Yeah.
Barcelona.
Yeah. Those are nice buses.
Yeah.
But 20 years. So now you're running things.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we at? What are we doing?
Oh boy. Here, you want to take this one first?
Oh man, in 20 years, I'm gonna be 42.
Oh my
Oh,
God! Could you believe it, Ed? 42.
Life's
That might be-
over.
That
let
was
me
when
tell
my
you.
kid was born and I could sleep. I remember being able to sleep. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever once considered 20 years down the road.
Love it. Good and
It's-
honest
yeah.
answer.
So here I am considering it now.
Okay.
Man, I would really like to one day not work for an OEM. There is a specific company that I really love. I'm really also passionate about cars in a way that is outside of design, like media.
Yep.
And so
Don't say MotorTrend.
I'm not going to say
Phew.
MotorTrend.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with saying
But like honestly,
Yeah.
there's a lot like media. Really, the idea of working for a media company that focuses on cars. I have a lot to.
MotorTrend. Okay.
Okay.
I have
Good
a lot
answer.
to say. I have a lot of thoughts, and
Well, that's why I thought you'd be great because her and I. It's weird. We talk only on Instagram, but we talk about car design.
we talk so much about everything car related, and I
like-
just have endless things to say.
Yeah, Maddie was the first one to like show me the new DeLorean. It's,
Might
Yeah,
be
yeah.
auditioning for a new podcast host. Here.
Oh my gosh.
where are you going, Ed? All right, last question. So 20
All right.
years.
Yeah,
The
20
Preston
years.
plan.
Definitely. I'm also not too sure. It's pretty far in the future for me, but definitely doing something like creative and something
By
with
the
my
way,
hands.
it'll
and-
happen by the time you.
Oh my
blink.
gosh, I know. But yeah, just working with my hands, doing something creative. Hopefully, still in cars.
Okay.
I mean, ideally, by the time that we're both 42, we're like chief,
Yeah,
the
just
chief
at the
of,
top.
the chief of Porsche or something crazy.
Perfect.
I mean, I would like to be chief at Honda. I mean,
Yeah. They could
Yeah.
use your help.
all the auto manufacturers are great, and
Yeah.
Well,
to-
okay.
I
do, and well, you can wrap up after this or just after. I just a couple questions on my end. So we know what you drive. What's your car? What are you driving right now?
I drive a 2014 BMW 335.
Nice.
Dang,
Okay.
bro.
All right. They're throwing out the.
I think I went on the launch of that too.
Throwing out the starving,
gosh.
the starving college student
Yeah.
angle out the
Well,
window.
he said he's from San Marino. So.
Okay, that's just true.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Hey man,
the
hey
T.
man.
But next, I want to do two things real quick to put your careers at risk, but then also to give you a shot here. I've been always contending that there's no dogs. It's hard to find a lemon in the new car space right now. Just in terms of like, it's like actual like totally like most car companies kind of figured it out. But from a design standpoint, what is the ugliest car currently on sale in the
Currently
U.S.?
on sale?
Currently on sale in the U.S. or recently off sale. Like let's say last 3-4 years. What's just an absolute dog? that
And
you
why
just
is it
like-
the Toyota Venza?
All right, no.
Oh my gosh, that's a contender.
Thank you.
Not gonna lie,
This
that's
is a beautiful car. The current Venza is
It's
it's
horrible.
awesome.
It's
beautiful.
really got a
bad.
failure of understanding of proportions.
Wow.
Thank you.
Massive
Wow.
failure
See?
on Toyota's end.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna say disagree, but okay. Was that your choice, or Johnny just fed that
No,
one to
that's
you?
not my choice. Not my choice.
Okay. You got one? Who's first?
I would say I love BMW and I love the new BMW, but the grill kind of kills me.
In general,
On
the big
what
the big
model?
grills, the Force,
The
The M3.
I was thinking of the M3, but
Yeah.
Are you really gonna say that's the ugliest new car on sale
no,
right
no.
now?
It's
Well,
just
I might.
every time I see it
Everyone
drive
else
by,
has.
I'm like a little bit like,
Yep. It's a big miss. It's a big
yeah.
miss. It's a big miss.
I mean, overall, I think the car is great, but just
it's a great
right
car
now
to
the
drive.
front.
But that car is also bad from the side and the rear.
The M3 has got a real problem on the body side and the rear. The M4 solves a few of those.
But you're not focused on the grill. The grill's okay with you?
On the M4, the grill is all right.
Whoa.
Really?
Yeah, I'm surprised that you said that because you have been defending BMW for my whole life.
We should have started.
I'm
we should have
biased.
started here.
I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
This should be the whole episode. We'll get him back. We'll just
No. So then, what's your ugliest car? Out there?
Man, on sale today is complicated. But if I'm gonna speak from my heart, speak from a Range Rover fan perspective, it's the Evoque.
Ooh.
Really?
100%.
I like the new Evoque.
I do not like the Evoque at all.
Okay, that's a little left field.
That
That's
was way out of left field.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Now
right.
we'll reverse it because you both now killed yourself. You're not going to get a job at BMW.
Oh,
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
god,
Yeah.
right, yeah. Never getting a job at Toyota.
Shoot your shot. If you could work with somebody out there, any of the rock star car designers,
That's a good
make
question.
make the appeal in the microphone right now.
Right,
You already
right.
said Sasha Selepanov, so we'll DM
Yeah.
him. And
Oh
Like
my
he's
God.
retired. No, we want like
well,
someone
we
who's
know
running.
him. Like,
yeah,
we've
you know.
met him.
You want
We-
someone who's
we've met
running a
him.
shop
So
right now.
who's the dream? Who's got the gig? Because I'll tell
Franz,
you,
for sure.
Really,
Franz.
Franz.
Franz at Tesla.
Franz
Okay,
at
I got
Tesla,
his
yeah.
number right now. I'll text him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Because here's the thing, right? Like
that's an interesting choice.
the thing I wanted to say when we started talking about your path, and it's something I think you can tell Johnny and I are very jealous of. We didn't know that this education existed.
Oh, I knew. I just have no talent.
very honest.
I
of
knew.
you.
I totally knew
Fair
all about
enough.
it. Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like when you reach that level, you guys are basically going to school to become rock stars. Like
Yeah.
Shredding on the guitar.
I mean, Ralph.
Well,
look
we
at
like Ralph Gilles, or I just hung
Look
out
at
with
your
Merrick
rockstar.
Reichman, and like, I
Rockstar.
mean, you know,
Sang Lee, rock star.
Oh,
like
Yeah.
all these guys.
But like, you know, but you're talking about like being able to tell a story, like, you know, Merrick, like, oh my, like, you know, I got a ride in the Valkyrie AMR Pro, and
Dude.
yeah, exactly, dude, and you know, Merrick was telling us about designing it and fighting with Newey about like you know, Newey
Adrian
insisted.
Newey, Formula One race car
Yeah,
builder,
the smartest man alive. However, doesn't care what cars look like.
course.
Look at F1 cars; they're terrible looking.
Yeah.
All Merrick cares about is making a beautiful car,
Uh-huh.
and so the fight that it was amazing.
That's
Anyway,
exactly why such brilliant cars happen. Is when you have people that are like that are so like furiously passionate about the like different things.
Merrick would
Yeah.
burn the company down rather than like make. And they were talking about like one little change on one little part. Like,
Yeah, a
rather than
millimeter on the
it's-
fender.
rather than make it
Yeah.
ugly, he'd burn the company to the ground. Like,
Yes.
that's his like
I love that.
default position. Yeah.
Do love that.
So
Okay. So
Franz?
Franz.
Gosh, I don't know. I want to say. Well, I mean, we could, get into the whole, conversation about the lack of women in the industry.
Huge lack in design. Yeah.
Massive, and not even just transportation, but in design in general.
Design. Yeah. It's very male dominated.
Yeah.
Super.
So if I'm gonna, speak to that, I think I'd want to work with Jenny Ha, at Lucid.
Lucid.
Okay. Oh wow.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I like
And
that.
there's, I don't have a lot of idols who are women.
Right.
A lot of them
yeah.
are men, and if I want to think like about who I really want to collaborate with, I want to collaborate with another woman and work alongside
that.
more women.
Yeah,
I like it a lot. Great answer.
And
Both great
both-
answers.
both-
Well, they're both California-based car companies.
electric car company.
True.
Electric car companies,
So-
California-based, and both the head of designs live in Southern California, not where their factories are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right. Well, look, this
This is awesome.
was really good. We want to have you guys back at some point, maybe
Term 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or after you're at
definitely.
your first gig, designing
Uh-huh.
couple,
Yeah, after an
designing
internship or two.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
When you're redoing the windshield wiper on
and the
the
cup,
Yeah,
the
right.
cup holder in the
On the
in the
Venza.
minivan.
Yeah.
Right.
The handle.
Oh,
We're
we're
ripping door
clay
handles
handle,
off clay
yeah.
models. Yeah.
savages. But thank you so much, Madison Walker and Preston Sanchez, Art Center, College of Design, transportation students. This was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys.
Yeah,
this
thank you
was
for having
so
us.
fun. I could talk for another 2 hours.
All right.
So
We'll do it again.
yeah.
All right.
you.